Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be looking at the difference between the red team and the blue team in cybersecurity. In cybersecurity, the red team is a term that is used to describe the professionals who use the skills to imitate the attack techniques that are employed by hackers. While the blue team is a term that is used to describe those who use the skills to defend an organization's security system. In today's discussion, we'll be looking at what a red team is. We'll look at how a red team works. We'll look at the examples of red team exercises, that is, what they do. And so also, we'll look at what a blue team is, and we'll also discuss what they do. What is a red team? Red teams are offensive security professionals who are experts in attacking systems and breaking into defenses. A red team consists of security professionals who act as adversaries to overcome cybersecurity controls. The team utilizes all the available techniques to find weaknesses in people, processes, and technology to gain unauthorized access to assets or to the assets of an organization. And as a result of these simulated attacks, the team makes recommendations and plans on how to strengthen an organization's security defense system. How a red team works. Red team spend more time in planning an attack than they do in performing the attacks, as a number of methods needs to be deployed in order to gain access to a network. One of the activities carried out by the red team is information gathering or reconnaissance. Reconnaissance has to do with gathering of information about a particular target. Examples of such information include finding out the operating system in use, operating systems such as Linux and Windows. During information gathering by the red team, they could try to find out the make and the model of networking equipment that an organization is using. They can also try to understand physical controls that are put in place in the physical location of the target. Physical controls such as doors, locks, and CCTVs. Once the red team has been able to gather the information they need about the target, they deploy a plan that would make them to identify vulnerables in the systems. Once the red team has detailed information about a target, they deploy a plan of action that will enable them to identify vulnerables in the system based on the information that they have gathered. Exploitation. At this stage, the red team after vulnerables are identified, a red team tries to exploit those weaknesses to gain access into the organization's network. Once an attacker is in your system, the next line of action would be to use privilege escalation techniques, whereby the attacker attempts to steal the credential of an administrator, After vulnerabilities are identified, a red team tries to exploit those weaknesses to gain access into an organization's network. And once an attacker is in your system, the next line of action would be to use privileged escalation techniques, whereby the attacker attempts to steal the credentials of an administrator who has greater or full access to the highest levels of critical information. Examples of red team exercises. 1. Penetration testing, which is also known as ethical hacking. This is where the testers tries to gain access to a system using different software tools. 2. Social engineering. This is where the red team attempts to persuade or trick members of staff into disclosing their credentials or allowing access to a restricted area. Phishing. This entails sending legitimate-looking emails that entice staff members to take certain actions, such as logging into the hacker's website and entering their credentials. And lastly, card cloning of an employee security card in order to have access to restricted area within an organization, such as the server room. What is a blue team? Blue teams are defensive security professionals responsible for maintaining internal network defenses against all cyber attacks and threats. Their task is to protect the organization's critical assets against any kind of threat. They are aware of the business objectives and the organization's security strategy. Therefore, their task is to strengthen their defense systems so as to prevent compromises from intruders. How does a blue team work? They gather data and documents on what needs to be protected. They asked and carried out risk assessment. They put out measures to tighten the defense system, such as introducing stronger password policies, education, and awareness creation. They deploy monitoring tools that allow for logging of access into the systems and check for unusual activities. How does a blue team work? 1. They perform DNS audits in order to prevent phishing attacks, avoid state DNS issues, avoid downtime from DNS record deletions, and prevent or reduce DNS and web attacks. They ensure firewall access controls are properly configured and that antivirus software are kept up to date. They deploy IDS and IPS software as a detective and preventive security control. They analyze logs and memory to pick up unusual activity on the system, and they identify and pinpoint attacks. They segregate networks and ensure they are configured correctly. And lastly, they use vulnerability scanning software on a regular basis. Thank you.